Call to order, City of Forest Park, council public hearing, July 1st, 2019. The item to be considered in the public hearing would be the proposed 2020 tax budget. Obviously, there's no public here for the public hearing. So, Mr. City Manager, if there's anything additionally that you want to tell us that we didn't hear already, or anything else you want to emphasize that beyond what we've already got?
No, nothing really to emphasize what we've already received. The budget was properly distributed. It was available for public comment in accordance with the state law. It's been available for the last 10 days. It has been advertised in the paper, and we'd ask that you vote on this evening after due consideration, and so they can be filed in a timely manner with the county auditor.
Does anybody on council have any questions or comments regarding the 2020 budget?
Well, it's not the budget.
Tax budget.
Which is the first step in the whole budgeting process.
Either way. So, none? Wait, appropriate number of minutes. Are you here for the public hearing, or do you have questions or comments? This is the public hearing. So if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make about the tax budget?
No, I was wanting to hear what the public hearing was. I don't have any comments. So I was going to listen.
Okay. The tax budget is a document that we have to prepare once a year. It's required by state law. What it does is we start off with estimates of the current year's budget, and then we progress into so that we can get an estimate to where we will be at year end. So the 2020 tax budget begins with an estimate as to what the balances will be in terms of cash at the end of 2019. We then take that available resource, and then those are considered available so we can appropriate them next year. And then we work on an estimated budget for 2020. These are the first steps to actually preparing an actual budget. The result of this is we are estimating revenues, and we are projecting some expenses to make sure that we will be able to pay our bills next year on the first estimate. It's not the final budget itself. It is just the first process to the budget cycle. What this does then is once it's passed, we will send it to the county auditor, who will then certify it, that it's been passed, and that what it does is allows us to collect our property taxes. So we're certifying that we have a need to continue to collect our property taxes based on the finances of the city, which we do. The tax budget proves that. They will then give us an estimate for property tax and an estimate for revenues. So we'll have our first certificate of estimated revenues, which is what that's called. The county provides that back to us, and then that particular number, whatever that number of revenue is, whatever that dollar amount is, that's the amount of money that we're limited to how much we can budget. So it limits our budget based on the certificate of estimated revenues each year. So, but then again, this is the first step. So this tax budget creates the revenue estimate, is really the first thing that it does. And then once we know what our revenue estimate is, we will begin our budget process. Through the rest of the departments, we'll call them in. We'll look and see, make sure that we're paying put costs on things for police, fire, other public works and other things and other services that we provide, and try and keep them within those revenue estimates that we certified to the county, who then certifies them back to us. So that's kind of the whole process. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public have any questions? Mr. Smith, you didn't even let me finish asking the question.
You don't want me to answer mine.
Okay, if there are no further questions from the public and or council, we will declare this public hearing to be closed officially. Call to order, City of Forest Park Council Meeting number 1339, July 1st, 2019. Let us stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk, please call the roll.
Burns. Collins.
Here.
Herbie.
Here.
Holt. Johnson.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Nuss.
Here.
Is there a motion to excuse Councilwoman Herbie?
Yes, I would move to excuse council members Burns and Holt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we excuse council members Burns and Holtz. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to excuse, let it be known by the sign of voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those members are excused. Next item is item number 2, minutes. You would have received a copy of the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, move to item number 3, presentation. We have no presentations for the evening, so we'll go to item 4, communications from the public. This is the time for citizens to comment on matters before council or to ask questions of concern to them. When recognized, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and then state your comments or questions. Council meetings are tape recorded for ease of transcriptions. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the council? Seeing no one, we will move to item number 5, reports. The first of those would be community development, Mr. Burns, who's absent. Anybody from his committee want to report in his stead? There's Mr. Burns now. So we will then move to item B, Law Committee. We'll come back to Mr. Burns. Councilwoman Collins.
I have no report from the Law Committee at this time.
Okay, any questions for Councilwoman Collins? Hearing none. Councilwoman Collins, for the work session of the 8th, you have one item below the line of liquor license request. Do you have any to add?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Next report is Human Resources, Councilwoman Holt, who's absent. Anybody have a report from her? Seeing no one. There are no items on the agenda for Human Resources for the next work session. Next report is Public Improvements and Facilities, Councilwoman Moore.
I do not have a report at this time.
Any questions for Councilwoman Moore? Hearing none. Councilwoman Moore, I have no items on the agenda for you. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I want to just remind the public that on Wednesday, July the 10th, at the Forest Park Branch Library, we're having a community listening session. It's called Building the Next Generation Library. And so we welcome and encourage our residents to come out and lend their voice to what resources they feel that the community needs for the library. And so it's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, 655 Waycross Road. So please come out. Also, I want to remind the residents that our We Thrive Forest Park is our health initiative, and we're having a summer fitness series. And so this Saturday, July the 6th, we'll be at the Winton Woods Intermediate School, 825 Waycross Road, and it starts at 9 o'clock, 9 to 10. So it's a free event, so please come out and join in our fitness initiatives. That completes my report.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Next, we'll move to Public Safety Committee. Councilwoman Nuss.
I don't have a report at this time.
Any questions for Councilwoman Nuss? Councilwoman Nuss, I have no items on the agenda for you. Do you have any to add?
I do not. The only thing I'd like to add is to remind our residents that the Independence Day celebration is coming up shortly, and to be very careful. Got a lot of neighborhoods and homes that are in close proximity of one another, so please exercise caution.
Thank you. Next committee reports, Ways and Means. Councilwoman Herbie.
Just a couple things from environmental. Just to let you know that on our tree removal program, to date, 30 households have had 56 dead or dying trees removed. Another 8 homes will have another 9 trees removed this summer. Council recently passed 2 aggregation ordinances for the fall, and we have hired a broker to help us with an informational campaign that will start in August. We are still reserving trees for reforesting Forest Park. Currently 77 of 100 trees have been reserved, so there's still availability for that. And to date, 27 appliances have been collected, 16 of which contain Freon. The large appliance collection program will continue through the end of August, and that would conclude my report.
Any questions for Councilwoman Herbie? Hearing none, Councilwoman Herbie, I have 2 items on the agenda. One is managed security provider contracts, and the second one is the reappropriations ordinance. Do you have any to add?
Sir.
Next committee report is Intergovernmental Relations and Communications Committee. That is my committee. I would, the only thing that I would report here is that on July 18th, that would be a Thursday at 6 p.m., the Board of County Commissioners will meet here in Forest Park in our senior center. Obviously, this is a public meeting of a public body, and I would encourage those who can to attend. This is one of the few times that you will probably have an opportunity to hear from your Board of County Commissioners. That will conclude my report. I'll answer any questions if there are any. I want to make note of the fact that Mr. Burns is in attendance, and with that, Mr. Burns, your report, your committee, Community Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report. However, if there are any questions, I'll be glad to respond.
Any questions for Mr. Burns? Hearing none. Based on the report from the standing committees, as well as information thus far received from the city manager and the staff, at this time, I would state that there will probably not be a work session on Monday, the 8th. If that changes, obviously, the clerk will so notify us, and the agenda will be prepared. At this point, the only items that would be on the agenda would be below-the-line items. With that, I will move to item number 6, the mayor's report. Just a few things. First, on last Friday, I attended the annual citywide graduates celebration at Word of Deliverance Church. It was a very, very nice event. What that event is about is that it celebrates the accomplishments and the achievements of residents of Forest Park who graduated this year. This is not limited to high school graduations. This is, there were graduates who graduated from the various high schools, people who graduated from some of the vocational and or trade schools. There were people who had completed their work for advanced degrees, master's degrees, PhDs. Quite an event. There was a very nice showing. I want to especially thank and congratulate Ms. Wallace as well as the rest of the staff at Bishop Hilton's Church. It was very well done. I had the honor of being one of the speakers for the occasion, as well as to present a proclamation in honor of the occasion. And I specifically would like to thank Councilwoman Nuss, who spearheaded that effort for City Council. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item that I would report on would be, again, this would have been last Friday. Congressman Steve Shabbat of our who represents our district, held one of his many town hall meetings in his congressional district. It was held here in the chamber in the city of Forest Park. It would have been starting at 2 o'clock. It was an hour. These town hall meetings generally last an hour. It was a nice crowd on hand for that. I want to thank the congressman and his staff for bringing the town hall meeting to Forest Park. Again, it was an opportunity that afforded our citizens to have access to their congressman. There was a lot of good questions and answers. And specifically, I want to, in addition to them, I would like to thank our staff, who did a great job in making sure that that event came off correctly. And specifically, also want to thank our city manager, Mr. Jones, for basically serving as MC for that event. So again, it was an opportunity, and I think we need to take opportunities to provide our citizens not only a chance to see their their city government at work, but also the upper branches, the upper divisions of government that they don't very often get a chance to see. Very rarely will the average citizen over the course of the year get an opportunity to hear from their people in Congress. And the same holds true for their county government officials. And I would urge that anytime you get that opportunity to take it, because one of the things that I believe we have a duty to do, not when I say we, I don't mean the council, but I mean as citizens, we have a duty to keep ourselves as well informed about what our government is doing, what those who represent us are doing, as well as any opportunities that we have to let them know, first of all, to thank them for what they're doing, and secondly, if they're not doing some of the things you think they ought to be doing, then that's an opportunity for you to get to say, hey, I think maybe why don't you try this, or at least think about that. And finally, Councilwoman Nuss mentioned it, but I want to emphasize it. I was reading some data on fireworks, especially during holiday seasons. On any holiday, and even the front end and the back end of the holiday, meaning the day before and the day after, almost 77% of all fires and accidents that occur, have to do with fireworks. and the same holds true for accidents over around those holidays. We've had a lot of rain over the last several weeks, but if you've noticed, and it doesn't take very long for this to happen. I don't know, I don't know if can be attributed to just hot weather or global warming or whatever. It makes no difference. But if you have looked the last couple of days, how quickly the coloring of the grass has changed. It's dry, it's brown, it's ripe for fires. Not only the grass, but in talking to the people at the fire department, the roofs of houses are also extremely dry. So when if you think you want to go out there and shoot off your fireworks, as Councilwoman Nuss said, keep in mind, these things don't just go straight up and come straight back down. They spread. I know that our fire department will be, as always, during holiday period, they will be making numerous calls because these things will fall on somebody's roof. And unfortunately, most people, some of those of you who are younger, might be able to get up there to see whether any damage was done. But those of us who are not so young, we're going to look, and if we can't tell, we're going to call the fire department. So they're constantly making runs. Not, that's their job and they don't mind doing it. But at the same time, be mindful of the dangers that are out there with fireworks, especially with little kids, and allowing them to, to hold them in their hands and you light them and they throw them. Well, first and foremost, they're not as agile as they will be when they get older. And by the time they get ready to throw it, by the time it connects, the hand and the mind connects, it has exploded in their hands. Also, there are certain fireworks that are prohibited in the state of Ohio, period. You're not even supposed to have them. And, the law in Ohio is kind of weird, if you ask me. You're allowed to purchase them somewhere else and bring them here, but you're not supposed to use them here, which makes not a lot of sense to me, but that's just the way it is, especially some of the, I believe they call them the rockets and those kinds of things. But again, let's be safety conscious. Let's be mindful of the condition of the grass and all of that stuff. In addition, just as a piece of information, a lot of our people and people all over will be cooking out, as is we want to do over the holidays. Again, pay attention to, don't leave the fires unattended. Don't leave your grill unattended. It's dangerous for kids who are around. And if you're using charcoals and those sort of things, or if you're using the chips in a smoker, sparks there can be sparks from that and you've ignited a fire. There are some things that, just so that people know, that we do not allow in Forest Park. You cannot dig you can't dig a hole and cook in a pit. Now, it might seem strange to some of you to even mention that, but I guarantee you we will have at least one or more calls on that, because it's going to happen. It happens every holiday. It happens every year. It happens, this time of year. That's not allowed. If you're going to be grilling, that is supposed to be done on the back of your property, not in front of your garage. Again, there are inherent dangers in this. You got your cars in there, you got your lawnmowers, all of these things with gas, and it doesn't, it only takes a little bit of a spark. Be safety conscious. And let's try to have a holiday where we don't have any injuries, serious injuries, any injuries but serious injuries. And let's be, you know, so we don't have people whose houses are burning down. So, again, to echo Councilwoman Nuss, try to keep these things in mind, and let's all try to be safe. That will conclude my report. I will answer any questions if there are any. Hearing none, the next item on the agenda is item 7, City Manager's Report. Mr. Jones.
Well, we have all of the department reports were properly turned in, and they were part of and filed with the clerk, so they're available for review. Again, just expanding a little bit on some of the things that we talked about coming up, the Jazz Festival is currently being planned. We have moved the stage to over by the high school, so the parking will change this year, as well as where people who are used to coming every year and putting their tents up, that area is going to be changed as well. So we'll have some information online that will explain it a little bit better, but keep an eye for that, and we'll make sure that we try and get that information out to the public as soon as we can as to, you know, the places where people need to park, where the handicap parking will be, and where, if you want to bring your tent, where that's going to be as well. That'll be August the 3rd. The CAFR, our certified annual financial report, our comprehensive annual financial report has been filed, and hopefully we will receive our award for that, our national award. We've received that many years in a row, and we expect it again to have one this year. We'll publish that as soon as possible. And our PAFR, which is our public report, which is a little bit smaller and more citizen friendly. We call it a community report. We're in the process of preparing that, and that should be out by mid-August. So keep an eye out for that. That makes things a little bit easier to understand. Other than that, again, the meeting with Shabbat was a very good meeting. The public was well attended. The mayor did an excellent job representing the city, and so it was a very good meeting, very civil, and a lot of good information. Hopefully we'll be able to have that again, or the next one will be with the Hamilton County Commissioners, and that's going to be an actual meeting, so it's another opportunity for us and our citizens to get one-on-one and direct access to our elected officials who are at the county and the state and the federal level. Some state folks in here and do the same thing. Other than that, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for City Manager? Yes, ma'am.
Just what's that date and time again? I think it's a Thursday for the county.
The 18th, Thursday, the 18th at 6 in the Senior Center. Again, thank you, Mr. City Manager. Before we go to item 8, I would be remiss not to, if I apologize. I would like to thank Councilwoman Collins for attending the town hall meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item number 8, other reports. First of those being Law Director, Mr. Wyckoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the last meeting, I had an opportunity to consult with our city manager regarding a lien payoff for some income taxes on a residence that's been transferred. Also, some discussion about public record requests and how we handle certain requests, specifically when one is made anonymously. Other than that, I have nothing else to report. I would answer any questions.
Any questions for Law Director? Hearing none, thank you, sir. Item B is Clerk of Council, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to report that resolution number 17-2019 through 20-2019 were posted as required. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Clerk of Council? Hearing none, we'll go to item number 9, unfinished business. Is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
I would move to suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read for the second time by title only, ordinance number 20-2019.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules requiring the reading in full on 2 separate days and read for the second time by title only, ordinance number 20-2019. Is there any discussion?
Just that it was posted as required.
Any other questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend?
Burns.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Herbie.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Nuss.
Yes.
Motion to suspend passes 6-0. First item on the unfinished business is item A, ordinance number 20-2019. The clerk please read this ordinance by title only.
Ordinance number 20-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 96 miscellaneous regulations of the Code of Ordinances as it relates to trees, weeds, and shrubs.
A motion, Mr. Burns.
Yes, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 20-2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 20-2019. Is there a discussion, Mr. Burns?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance has been discussed in several forums, and I think even in a public forum in the month of May. It is related to, as the title infers, the cutting and the responsibility of cutting grass and weeds and general maintenance of individual homes, meaning that it is the homeowner's responsibility. Should the homeowner fail to comply with this particular ordinance, the fee structure and the communication structure will change from what has historically been done with either a mailing or a door hanger. Those two steps are being augmented by the addition of a signage in front of the home, as well as the pricing structure for the fees related to the grass cutting. So with that, I would urge the adoption of ordinance number 20-2019.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk please call the roll on ordinance 20-2019?
Collins.
Yes.
Herbie.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Nuss.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes.
Ordinance number 20-2019 passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is new business, resolution number 21-2019. Would the clerk please read this resolution in full?
Resolution number 21-2019, adopting tax budget for 2020 and submitting same to Hamilton County Auditor. Whereas the city manager has heretofore prepared a tentative budget for the city of Forest Park for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2020, showing detailed estimates of all balances that will be available at the beginning of the year 2020 for the purpose of such penalties, allowances, prerequisites, and all other types of classes of revenue. Also, estimates of all expenditures or charges in or for the purpose of such fiscal year to be paid or not from the said revenues or of balances and otherwise conforming with the requirements of law. And whereas said budget has been made conveniently available to the public for inspection for at least 10 days, having at least 2 copies thereof on file in the office of the Director of Finance. And whereas the Council of the City of Forest Park, Ohio, has held a public hearing on said budget, of which public notice was given by publication not less than 10 days previous to the date of said public hearing, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Forest Park, Ohio, Section 1, that the budget of the City of Forest Park for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2020, heretofore prepared by the city manager and submitted to this council, copies of which have been and are on file in the office of the Director of Finance, be and it is hereby adopted as the official budget of the City of Forest Park, Ohio, for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2020. Section 2, that the clerk of council is hereby authorized and directed to certify a copy of said budget and a copy of this resolution and transmit the same to the auditor of Hamilton County, Ohio. Section 3, this resolution shall be in full force and be in effect upon its passage.
Is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
I move adoption of resolution number 21-2019.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adopt resolution 21-2019. Is there a discussion?
Just that this is the first step of our budgeting process for the year, and it goes to the county auditor to support the need for our continued revenue from the taxes. So I would urge adoption of this resolution.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk call the roll on resolution 21-2019?
Herbie,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nuss,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Collins.
Yes.
Resolution 21-2019 passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is item B, a motion. Councilwoman Herbie.
Yes, I would move to convene an executive session to discuss personnel matters regarding the status of labor negotiations.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we convene into executive session to discuss personnel matters regarding the status of labor negotiations. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk call the roll on the motion for executive session?
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nuss,
Yes.
Burns,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Herbie.
Yes.
The motion passes 6-0. At this time, the council will go into executive session. There will be no official business taken during the time that we're in the executive session. If there is business to be done, when we return, we will make, motions will be in order at that time. So at this point, the council will adjourn into executive session in room 3B upstairs. We are now back. Is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
Yes, I would move to adjourn from executive session and reconvene into the regular council meeting.
Second.
Been moved and second that we adjourn from the executive session and reconvene into the regular session. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by the sign of voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vote to adjourn and reconvene in the regular is 6-0. Now, is there a motion, Councilwoman Herbie?
Yes, I would move to amend the agenda and add as item C under new business to act on the fact finder's report from the fire negotiations.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we amend the agenda by adding item C, which would be to act on the recommendation, the fact finder's recommendation from the firefighters' negotiations. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. That's a roll call vote to amend the agenda as a roll call.
Burns,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Herbie,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Nuss.
Yes.
The vote to amend the agenda is 6-0. Now we have an item C, the fact finders, a vote on the fact finders report. Councilwoman Herbie.
Yes, I would move to accept the fact finder's report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the fact finders report. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, would the clerk call the roll on the motion? Is that a voice vote? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the fact finder vote, let it be known by the sign of voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The fact finder's report is accepted by a vote of 6-0. Is there any further business to come before the body? Any other business to come before the body? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.